Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the Code and Coffee Show, a place where we discuss the two most important things in lives of every developer. So, code and coffee. Yeah, it's that obvious. Today, we are going to talk a bit about WordPress and the fact that apart from everyone thinks, you can do a lot of advanced things in WordPress. You can use a really modern approach to code in WordPress. That it's really not true that you only can use this PHP 5.6 in WordPress. No, that's a lie. I mean, you can, but don't. And today we are going to concentrate mostly on using templating engines together with WordPress. And to do this, I have an expert in this field, Przemek Hernik. And Przemek is a software engineer and WordPress expert who is all about solving business problems with the right tools, high quality code, clean architecture, and task automation. Did I forget something?
Yeah, I think that's everything.
Cool.
Maybe not the super expert, but I try to do my best to be
Oh,
this.
you are. Don't be so modest. But before we will dive into those templating engines and how to make coding in WordPress more fun, let's start with coffee because this is the thing that kind of flow in our veins. So the most
Yeah,
important question: are you a coffee person?
yeah. I think that I can say that I'm a coffee addict person. Yeah, the day without coffee is not really the day. And sometimes when it is not possible to have a coffee in the morning, I know that the day might be terrible. And fortunately, my wife also likes drinking coffee, so we together are some kind of addicted to this.
That's great. I mean, it's always great to have this common hobby together, right? You can like.
Yeah.
So what we'll do today? Maybe we'll go to a coffee place. We'll try something new. Maybe we'll go to I don't know a coffee festival. So yeah, I totally understand this approach. I kind of have something similar at
Actually,
home.
actually,
Mhm.
we've never been on the coffee festival or something like this.
You
But
should. You
yeah, yeah, yeah.
should. I mean, if I remember 2 weeks ago, there was one in Katowice, so you missed it. But keep an eye because Warsaw has a great coffee festival. So I think it will be in February, if I remember
Mm-hmm.
correctly. And
Okay.
it's really worth to go. You will be like half person, half caffeine. It's a really great feeling.
So
Um,
we need to ask our son for permission.
we went there with our son. He was really happy. We almost lost him 5 times in the crowd, but he was happy.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think that our son might be also happy while
yeah,
lost in
so
between all the people. And
like I said, it's a perfect experience for anyone. And one more question about coffee: what is your favorite place of origin when it comes to to coffee beans?
oh, okay. So I must admit that I don't have an exact favorite coffee type. I just like drinking coffee, and for sure I like drinking coffee. Maybe sorry for saying this, but with milk.
That's not
I yeah, I'm not really experienced in more advanced coffees, if I could say that. But always I have a one friend that likes drinking a coffee and preparing it, and always if we are with him. I'm pleased to drink what he will prepare for me, and it is also a pleasure. But in the daily basics, we drink everything what we have already. So
so
that's not nothing, maybe nothing fancy, but that's not a problem for us.
So I have good news for you. I mean, every guest of the Code and Coffee Show receives 2 packs of great specialty coffee. So I hope this will be one of those first steps when you start spending half of your paycheck on coffee, hardware, and so on and so on. It always starts like this. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So having the coffee part out of the picture, let's dive into templating engines in WordPress. So first of all, why should we use them? I mean, uh, knowing those, let's call it default ways to approach problems, WordPress
Mhm.
goes with either yeah, you have full site editing. You can click out everything. Or the second approach is PHP is a great templating language. So what is your take on this?
Okay, so we should use only PHP and nothing more, and we can close this conversation. Thank you for it, guys. Yeah, but
it was
actually,
great. 5 minutes and you have your coffee. That was the perfect.
yeah, but we talk about coffee and yeah, but actually, it's really interesting question. I think there are a lot of people who might be interested in this, and I think that for me, at least for me and the team that I work with, implementing templating engines was the really great experience in terms of teamwork. We work with if we have the more bigger projects, we always work with more than one person, and introducing this was a really huge boost in terms of development experience. And if I can say what was the best here, it was the teamwork, because all those things related to splitting up the responsibilities and things related to this. So in my case it was the teamwork flow. But of course we will get through this in the next part of this chat. But what about you?
Yeah, but as you mentioned, teamwork. In my case, it was a bit different thing. I mean, the teamwork was also the great part, especially that we could separate the backend from this more front end stuff, and no one, so much less conflicts and everything. But for me, the most important part was the smile of my wife, like literally, because for many years I worked together with my wife. She was a front-end developer, I was a back-end developer, and for some reasons working with PHP was kind of a nightmare for her. The syntax was something weird, something she could not handle, and no matter how much I tried to explain, hey, it's so simple, right? You just write this bunch of letters and it's that obvious. No, it isn't. It isn't. And the moment we introduced, in our case, it was Twig, using together with the Timber plugin. It became so obvious. I mean, all the things she had so many problems, like all those loops or all the ifs and everything had become suddenly so much clearer, and it was so easy to write code. And suddenly, I almost didn't have to touch the front end part of the templates, because she was able to handle everything. And it was, from my perspective, it was exactly the same code we just did in PHP, but Twig changed everything. So like I said, for me, the best part about the templating engines is the smile of my wife, and like really. So
yeah, so I feel the same as you, but it also looks as an improvement in your teamwork. Your wife makes the changes in the front end area, you are making the changes in the back end, and you don't need to make problems each other, and it is really great boost. And we have similar improvements in our team. We have started using templating engines many years ago. It was we've decided to try to use the Roots starter, Sage. Probably it was the 8th version, I think. And once we started, we have loved to do this. And now, at least me, I think that my colleagues also feel the same, that I don't want to switch back to using just standard PHP for templating. Of course, if we work with some simple projects, really simple projects, and if I know that I'm the only person who will be developing this, I use the standard PHP. But in in the bigger projects or really large, and that's a default choice for us.
And I can tell you that in my case, any project, even the smallest one, Timber is always one of the most crucial plugins that there is. Or I mean, right now it's more of a library, because the plugin version is no longer working with the release of Timber 2.0, but in general, this is like a default part, because I really got so used to the syntax, and because I'm not only working with WordPress but also with other languages, it's easier for me to jump from from Timber to statement antlers to, for example, JSX and everything. They are much more similar rather than using the PHP syntax versus JSX versus, because
Yes.
this is kind of a nightmare. I mean, JSX per se, it's a bit of a nightmare for me, but.
Yeah, in general, I totally agree with you. I used to say that using such templating engines in WordPress is, for me, it looks like a great start for making something more advanced, even outside the WordPress. If you know how this topic works, you can use this knowledge even in Shopify as in the other templating engines in JavaScript.
Exactly.
So that's something like basic common knowledge that can be used in the more places than and not only in the WordPress.
And I can even tell you that the person who kind of made me more interested in templating engines was Piotr Niewiarowski, because once we were going back from WordCamp in Lublin, and
I've been there. It was my second WordCamp.
And I remember we just went back to by car because he was going through my hometown, and during that WordCamp, he had a presentation about using Twig, and we had a discussion, because back then I was kind of against templating engines, but I remember he said this one thing that it will be easier for you when you will want to work with something that is not only WordPress. Also, it's much easier to explain people how a templating engine works, and this person will be able to work with this templating engine together with WordPress, together with Symfony application, together with Laravel application, and so on and so on. It will be much easier for such a person without having to rely on pure PHP or maybe another language if you will use something else. And and this was kind of this moment when I thought, he's right, because if we want to think a bit outside of the WordPress bubble, maybe it's a good idea. And like a few months later, I become one of the kind of evangelists of Timber. Like Timber was one of the biggest discoveries in my developer life, and it was not only about Timber per se. It was kind of about this shift of the way I started to think about application, about the templating engines, about this whole separation of layers, and it changed everything.
Yeah, and it's really great to hear this, because I feel the same, and I'm also so excited about this topic. And I think that it might look like something not really necessary in WordPress, but I think that if we just try and maybe work with one more person that is from the other layer, we will see how great it might be. So
yes, exactly, because this is the moment when we start seeing more and more. Because I totally understand people who will say, I'm working on those projects, I don't have any problems with the separation of concerns or anything. Everything just works, and that is true. That is true, because if you are doing, I always like to say that you can screw up things in every language and using every technology.
That's true.
So you can also screw up things using Blade, using Timber, using whatever amazing technology you want. But also you can do amazing things using any technology. So you can use PHP in the right way, and it will still work really perfectly.
Exactly.
But still, the moment when you start adding more people, more things start to show up, and you will see, you'd probably start to develop your own templating engine, because templating engines aren't just about passing the variables. There are much more things. There are ways to expand the views. There are ways to kind of only exchange the blocks, to filter variables. Not every templating engine, as I learned yesterday. I know that there's one that can do
maybe
this.
Maybe we'll talk about this later.
That's for sure. So in general, if you have a chance, maybe you have some small side project, give it a try. And like I said, for me, I remember the first time I saw Timber in some project that wasn't written by me, I became a huge hater of it. Really, I was for a long time. I was like the person, don't use Timber ever. And from this, I became at some point one of the one of the biggest contributors to the project. I mean,
Oh,
especially
nice.
during the 1.0 version.
Uh-huh.
In the 2.0, I wasn't responsible almost for anything, sadly,
Oh.
but the lack of time. But
Mm-hmm.
still, I think smarter people than me took over, and it's better
Mm-hmm.
for the project.
Okay, that's why they've released the second version, right?
Exactly, because no more magic here.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do it the right way finally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that we should also say for whom this solution might be useful, because that's not a solution for everyone. If you want to
That's true.
build the WordPress projects, it depends what type of projects they are. For example, if you are, let's say, a designer who rather implementing WordPress features and creates websites or pages with, let's say, Elementor or Bricks build or other builders, it will
Hmm.
be something for them, because that's more solution, more the tool for the developers who create solution on WordPress. So responsible for creating plugins or really custom theme implementations, because we just create code, not implement the solutions in the WordPress admin panel while clicking through the Gutenberg or something like this. It is something for just developers who create WordPress solutions.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that we need to mention this to not to stop making confusion about who are the target group of those tools.
Yes, exactly. And if you like, for example, full site editing, and you really feel that this is the way how you like to create WordPress, that's
Mhm.
perfectly fine. But on the other hand, it won't be compatible too much. I mean, you can do some things, but to be honest, you won't see that
Mhm.
much of a boost in the productivity. The moment
Mhm.
when you will go with this kind of hybrid approach, when you still use Gutenberg, but you kind of create custom blocks and everything, in such cases, yes, there are more and more opportunities when you can leverage. And of course,
Yeah.
everything apart from blocks. This is kind of mostly the place when all those templating engines will shine.
Yeah, exactly.
If I
Okay, so
remember, you have some cool presentation for us.
yeah, maybe not a presentation, but I have a few slides that I would like to show people how we can use it and how it improves our workflow. Let me
And
share
also
my
it will give
screen.
us a lot of opportunities to discuss even further.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's go to the part about what are those templating engines. We have been talked about this, but here are some kind of examples. So those examples are based on the Blade templating engine that is used in the Laravel. It is
Mhm.
a standard native templating engine in Laravel, but of course there are much more. As you mentioned, there is a Twig, Smarty, or even the templating.
And there's mustache. There's mustache.
Exactly. So templating engines are just only the group of the tools, not really one specific tool. So those examples are created on the Blade, but the idea is the same even in the Twig or Mustard, as you mentioned. So this is how the Blade template looks like. As you can see, it is it is created to make the front-end implementations easier for the team. They are defined in the specific files with the specific files. For example, Blade is defined in the file that ends with blade.php extension, and they are consist of typical HTML markup boosted with some additional tools. For example, here we have data placeholders that presents the data that comes from the backend side. We have some directives that allows us to extend the views, and other directives that can be used for creating templates. So, for example, here we have a great isSet directive that just check if some specific variable is set in the template. And those directives, as far as I understand and I feel, that are something that front-end developers like a lot, because they look much simpler than standard PHP code. Of course, as you mentioned, PHP code is not something really problematic, but I think that here it looks much better. Why to use them and how to use them? While we're creating the WordPress solution or any other solutions, the applications mostly have the same general layout that is spread across the whole application. So we have several pages with different content, as here, for example, but the general layout is the standard and is not changing. And here is a great example why it is worth to use the templating engines. It makes them managing those templates easier. Here we have some code that presents how it looks in our code base. So as I mentioned, we have a standard HTML markup boosted with templating engine tags. Like for example, here the tag that presents that equals the variable, the results of the function or variable. So for example, here we have simple template that presents the content of the current post in our website. So let's say that we need to create the main index page, the homepage of our WordPress or our WordPress website, and the content will be consist of 2 sections: the content and sidebar. The standard content will have will present the results of the content function, and let's say that the sidebar will have some kind of navigation. What we need to do this, or what we need to do to create such kind of template? If we have this base template, so this is the general template, it is called base.blade.php. We can create another one, index.blade.php, and use extend to just extend our new template with the parent template. So as a result, we will have the new index page that looks as follows. This example is super simple to not make problems with understanding this topic, but that's not how we create the view layer of the website. But let's focus on the meaning of this. And as you can see, we have the results of the content filter, the content function here, and the sidebar field with not navigation yet, but with the things that we have defined in the general template. As a second part, we can create the template responsible for displaying the content of the, let's say, posts. And it should look like this example. Instead of having 2 sections, we have a content without sidebar, and the content should have the title and the content, the results of those functions. How does it look in the system? Again, we create a new template, single.blade.php, and we tell the system that they should extend the general layout configured in the base.blade.php file. As a result, again, we have things that we need that extends the base layout. But as you can see, they still don't look as they should. So, for example, the single template should have only the content section without sidebar. So let's try to check how can we achieve this. We can define the slots to fill by maybe in the base template, we can define the slots that can be extended by the child template. So for example, here we have defined 2 sections. The first is the content and the second is the sidebar. So we inform our templating engine that this template have 2 slots that can be filled with any of data that the other child templates want to put there. So if you work with, let's say, some reactive frameworks like Vue or React, that's something standard, because we define the slot in components that are filled with things that we pass. So it works like this way. So now we have two sections to fill. How to handle the changes. If we have done this, our index page look like here. So we have only the content filter because we need to do much more. And that's how the single template looks like. So once we have the slots, we should fill them somehow. The index should have a navigation, and we can do this in our child template. So we talk about index.blade.php, and we just inform, hey, Blade, let's put this HTML in the sidebar slot. And the results are as we need. So the Blade template filled the slot that we defined in the parent team. And we don't even need to touch the general layout because we just inform, hey, put something into the slot that have been defined. And that's one of the best things that we can achieve while using templating engines. Getting back to our example, let's say that we have single template that should display only the title and the content. And again, we are going to the single.blade.php template and again fill the content that we need. So once we need to have different content only for this main section, we can tell the Blade, hey, put this HTML to the content section defined in the parent template. What about the sidebar? We haven't defined what should be placed in the sidebar, so Blade know that they should put nothing there, and the sidebar should be not displayed. And now we have the result that we need. So speaking of simple words, in the child template, we just tell to fill the slot defined in the parent with some specific data and without touching this parent. So we write the code that is better prepared for the change, because if we have, let's say, 10 pages or 100 pages or 1,000, we can ensure that we implement changes only where we need without touching everything else. And it makes our code base more secure, if I can say that. Let's say now that after having 1,000 of pages, the clients come to us and ask for creating a header across all the pages. So with this solution, we don't need to touch any of the templates of the child templates that we create, because if we need to have this header spread across the whole application, we can just open the general layout, define the header there, and it will be applied to all the pages that uses this base template. So let's say that this is how the index, our homepage should look like, and this is how our single post template should look like. We both should have a header at the top of the page. So at first, we can create a new partial. Let's say that it is header.blade.php, because we spread out the responsibilities and we try to create as smallest component as they can to not mix more features in the one file. So once we have this header, we can go to our base template and put this header into the new defined slot, which is named also header to keep this simple. So now we inform the system that all the child templates that inherits this general template should have a header section by default filled with the content of the header partial. So now we're spreading out the one change across the whole application. And so we have only one place to change, and our 1,000 of pages are changed correctly. So this is how our post template looks like. As you can see, the header has been applied without any problems, and this is how it works. So the templating engine works is this way, in the way that they give the developers more power to build the front-end application, to build the HTML markup, in the way that gives more confidence while creating those solutions. And in the final step, the Blade template, of course, we need to inform that those Blade templates are not displayed by the browser. It is not passed by the browser because that's not a browser task. The Blade engine and the Twig and every templating engine has, yeah, they have some kind of parsers that takes this this source code and creates, in this case, PHP code. So after making after processing those templates, the server gets the following code. So as you can see, it produces the standard PHP code with some with the functions that we defined, with the variables injected, and many more. So it works in the way that we build the templates in Blade, Twig, and many more. The system parses those files and creates a PHP code. In our cases, the parser has put those PHP templates, generated PHP templates, in the caching directory. So in general, those examples are really simple, and they are really small of the parts. They are really small part of the whole idea, but I think that they are a great point to start for every people that want to just try it.
I would even say that you said that they are simple, and the feeling that I always have while using Timber, every moment when you start to feel that something becomes complicated, that there is some friction, it in most cases means that you are doing something wrong. Because in general, templating engines try to resolve every problem to making it as simple as possible. So really, they change a lot in the way you start to think about building your website, especially that as we could see, you start to work on those small chunks, only on the things that changed from the rest. It's also really cool that you can have many of those layouts that you expand later. This is also something very useful, but still you have much less points of kind of entry. It's much easier to fix something. So yeah, it's really it's all about the simplicity for the developer.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned for the developer, that's one of the most important points. And in general, it was some kind of general description. And I think that even if we talk about the Blade and how does it look like, I haven't used Timber, for example, and the Twig, but it is not really different, right?
No, it's very simple. I mean, the differences. There are some minor differences. I think that the biggest difference is the fact that Blade is a bit more, how to say it. In general, Blade lets you do much more things inside of the template because Blade is like pure PHP. So you can add like pure PHP code inside of the template. This means you can kind of mess up and start adding the logic that shouldn't be here. With Timber and Twig in general, it's much more difficult. Timber doesn't allow you to write PHP code just like that inside of the template. So
that's a really great point. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really great if you know that you have this one developer that really likes to add a bit of spaghetti to your code. Although to be honest, I had the chance to work with one developer who also showed me the possibility that yes, you can write whole logic inside of Timber, and I was like, oh man, I think I have to delete it.
Yeah.
But really, he just wrote the whole logic, and especially that you have much less possibilities to write the logic in Timber. It really was like those if else. It was horrible. But the thing that you already see that even on the first sight, that something is wrong. That something is wrong. That this file has. And this is because if you add more code to your library that is already full of code, on first I said, yeah, it's just a big library. Maybe we should kind of do some cleaning, but yeah, it's just a big library. And here, it's like on the first eyesight, you see, oh, that's too big. Something is totally wrong here. It's like the first reaction. And also, even if the front-end developer who doesn't know how to write backend code will see that, okay, I see parts that I don't understand. That is wrong because thanks to the separation, front-end developers should always understand what is happening on the front end. And if they don't, it's a huge red flag that, okay, someone messed up. Someone put something that it shouldn't be here. And this is also one of those hidden things behind templating engines that really can help you a lot in those small minor things. And it kind of happens in the background because this wasn't the way why we introduced templating engines. We introduced them to do this, and this. But in the background, things happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it is also visible in the teamwork because let's say that we work with the 5 developers in one project. And as we know, each of us has own task to do, and we don't want to bother ourselves about checking the pull request of other persons. And while we use the templating engines, it is just easier to see that something is wrong. As you mentioned, we open the pull request with the logic in the blade.php file, and we see hey man, we immediately see that just something is wrong there, and we can easily find the bugs or let the other developers learn something new. It's just easier, even if those simple processes. And I feel on my example that introducing those templating engines and splitting up the responsibilities improved the time spent on checking the pull request. We just need less time because we are able to see the problems much faster. And I think that it is really great thing when it comes to using those. And you mentioned really nice things for me. As I would say that the harder is using PHP code in the templating engine system, it is better because we make our code base even stronger. Then, yeah, you're right that Blade allows really easily to use PHP code, and I wish to.
But remember, you shouldn't.
Yeah,
remember, you can, but you shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. But in general, we just shouldn't. And and that's it. So those was the basic examples, and now maybe we will maybe not summarize these things, but the next part of this presentation was about why it is worth to try it in general. Not we are not talking about the coding or something. Rather, we should talk more about the general approach. And we already started doing this, so maybe I will have some maybe we will make this faster. But in general, using templating engines should help us solve problem with tightly coupled code, with spaghetti code created by other developers, by us sometimes. And I think that they solve one of the biggest problems in the WordPress. I believe that one of the biggest problems in the WordPress, even in the core, is making spaghetti code and merging different layers in one file. I'm not sure. I haven't checked this for a long time, but once I just checked the core files of the WP admin section, they were written in the really not good looking way. They have logic on the top of the file, and then HTML, and this HTML also includes some kind of logic. It makes the database queries, etc. And it works, right? But I think that
it does. But
yeah, in those sides of the project, it might be really problematic. But I understand why it's still there. I think that rebuilding this whole thing can be not really worth because the WordPress already is too large.
And
Yeah.
it's now it's kind of migrating into Gutenberg components. So who knows how it will look like. And you know what? Also looking at this picture, kind of the main motto of Timber it's kind of comes to my mind. And their motto is because WordPress is awesome, but the loop isn't. And it's kind of true. It's kind of true that really the way how WordPress approaches the templates, yeah, it can really get messy. And thanks to templating engine, maybe we don't have this full model views controller separation, but we're already doing the first step into this. So
yeah, exactly.
And yeah, you already did the first step. Maybe next step will be going further.
Yeah, exactly, and improving these architectural layers, and that's great. That's just a great start for making further changes. I used to say that the only constant is a change. So if we can create the code that is prepared to this change since the beginning with really small effort, because we don't talk about really huge effort that needs to be put in to make it work. We talk about really small effort. I think that it is worth to try.
Yeah, especially that I can also tell that when you mentioned that we can do it kind of gradually, this is also one of the best things about Timber. You don't have to kind of migrate your whole application to Timber templates. You can just go step by step and just do as you go. And that's amazing because you kind of learn as you go. You don't have to spend all your time to make this huge step. You can just step by step slowly improve everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if we will use the templating engines perfectly, I mean perfectly, without using even the WordPress functions in the Blade or Twig templates, we also can create the code that is prepared to change. Let's say that after some time it will occur that the WordPress is not good choice for your business anymore. Once we have templating engines and the whole front-end layer that is perfectly created using templating engines, in this case we can switch to another tool. We just need to create we just need to, let's say, switch the controllers and rewrite them from using WordPress functions to, let's say, I don't know, Drupal or something like this. That's really I've never had some kind of situation, but who knows? WordPress is going in the different direction now. It's more like full site editing, and maybe someone will decide to switch back. If we have the code created perfectly, I mean perfectly, it might be just easier.
Exactly.
Yeah. The next part is the part that I like a lot, and you already said this. While you work with your wife, she don't like use anything what is related to the backend side, and I see this also in our team, and that's nothing wrong. If someone is front-end developer and is specialized in creating layouts and UI UX, they don't need to bother themselves about some complicated backend mechanism. While we split up the responsibilities and create the separate view layer from the controller, we improve this process, and it's easier to work with the each size of the code base. We can improve the code base while the project is really small and really huge. It works in the same way. Also, we solve the problems with conflict on GitHub because we don't work. The chance of working on the same files is much less than when we do everything in the PHP file. And I'm not sure how about you, what about you, but I just don't like solving merging problems, especially.
No one does.
Sometimes it is really problematic, and
also this is the difference when you kind of separate the things. Even if you have this merge conflict, it's much easier to see what happened. And the moment when you have everything stored in one file, you just look at the file and it's
exactly.
What what happened here? What happened here? I don't understand like anything, because it turns out that you changed the logic. You also changed a bit of HTML because to match the logic. On the other hand, the front end changed something only in the HTML, which kind of broke. And you are like, I don't know.
Exactly. So I think that if I would talk with my colleagues in the Coditive, I think that we all agree that it just helped us splitting up the responsibilities and focusing on the things that matter for each of us. So, for example, the front-end team just work on the visual layer, backend team is making all the mess in the backend that is not visible for the clients, and it is just easier.
That's what we do, just the mess.
Yeah, exactly. That's a backend developer work. Yeah. So here, for example, here we have some kind of example how we approach building the WordPress solutions. We just tried, in general, we tried to build a custom solution using blocks, but they are not blocks in terms of Gutenberg or full site editing. We talk about maybe we should use the bricks, because I like creating models from Lego. I know that you like this too. So
of course,
yeah. So we use some Lego approach while creating the WordPress solutions. So we build a set of the blocks that can be used over all the page, with when the visual layer and the backend side is split up. So for example, this is the simplest scenario when the backend developer works. We have a PHP controller that takes care about preparing data and making this all mess in the backend that is not visible. They can work only in this file in the backend, maybe not only in this file, but let's make it as simple as it can be. They can make the changes here, and the front-end team doesn't touch it. The front-end team goes to the separated file which is related to the visual layer. So let's say that it is a tile.blade.php, and they take care about their stuff. They don't need to know how the title variable is created, from what place it comes. They just know that they should have this variable, and how it is created, they don't need to know it, because they just need to display it. And if the clients will come and say, hey, the title should be now constructed of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and much more aspect. Front-end developer doesn't make
any
about
change.
this. Yeah,
exactly.
The template here stays the same. We are going to the backend developer and ask him for implementing the change, and this change is spread out all the whole application. So let's say we are talking about the post tile here. So we can create this even in the much simple way. Let's see how it can be used. Let's say that we have our base template, and the business requirement was to display the tile to the post with ID 19 through all the application. Let's say that it was a business requirement. With this way, the front-end developer doesn't need to know how to create the title, how to create the description, what is the content field. They just can put the ID of the post that should be printed there, and all the complicated backend mechanism prepares everything for him. So as you can see here, we just use our brick while building the solutions that we make. I think that it is really great example. And here is how it looks on the front end. We just presented the post tile probably in the top of just after the application heading.
And you know what? I would kind of go back to one thing that you mentioned some time ago about that having all the templates written in a perfect way It will also allow you to switch from WordPress to something else in a quite simple way. And this is like the perfect example because
Mhm.
could you go back to the controller? I mean,
Controller. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, right now we see that the title is get the title, but imagine that we would be using something else. So we will be just using title will be name of the function in some other CMS, or maybe it will be from I don't know, the API, because it will be we're getting some
Yeah.
data from the headless CMS.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're totally separated, and
Mhm.
the title is the title. The front end developer doesn't care. The front end developer
Exactly.
only has to care about one thing: that the title variable is called title. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And about displaying it in the place that where it should be. And
Exactly.
it is really great. You mentioned that we can try to use some API, let's say,
Mhm.
and for example, in the first year of the WordPress project, we use the WordPress database as the source of the data, but our website has been expanded in such great way that WordPress just can't handle this. We switch to another tool that allows making the that allows achieving better results. For, let's say that we talk about performance, and we just change the to those simple the those few simple places, and all the other things works really great. and and it is really huge boost when it comes to handling maybe not more advanced. I think that it is a boost even for the simplest WordPress projects.
Yeah. And it also makes the site kind of future proof because you are
Yeah.
already prepared that if change will happen, you don't have to worry about. You just have to remember when to do all the changes, and the rest will
Mhm.
happen. Let's call it
Exactly.
automatically. I
Exactly.
love this word.
Yeah. What we have next? Here we have example that templating engines allows us to build the more advanced user interfaces in an easier way. As I mentioned, while using the general templates that then are extended by the child templates, we can put in the slots whatever we need. So let's say that we for index template we need to put the block that look like here. Single should have the thumbnail and the content. The about page should looks in another way. We just define what are the content of the slots, and we put there in the place that are defined in the general layout, and it improves the whole experience and makes a huge difference, especially if we talk about changes that for sure will happen in the future, especially if that's the let's say WordPress plugin. The WordPress plugin, the chance of changing WordPress plugin and updating and improving it over time is really huge. So we create the code that is better prepared for this. So let's say that we just need to create a new. It is important to add that if we talk about those general layouts, it doesn't mean that we can use only the one. We
Now
can
we can
define.
have the infinite number of them, and
Yeah,
this is amazing.
yeah, exactly, and that's up to us how we can define. Let's say that we have some action, let's say Black Friday and the homepage, or maybe let's say that there is a Halloween and we need to update all the application in some way. uh, we just can define the new base template and remove everything, all the slots that we just don't need, and define only the one that we need. Then we create the new child template, extend another base template, and we build another structure from the bricks that works for us. It's just easier for us to handle this. Okay, this is some kind of okay, I wanted to say here about the code readability. We already talked about we already mentioned this, that the templating engine structure looks much easier, especially for the front-end developers, and I believe in this. And once I talk with other developers, they say the same. as your wife. So I think that it looks much better, even for me. I know that I can write the PHP code and I can understand this, but I prefer to make visual layer in this way because it's just simpler. Okay, so maybe we will try to talk about how to integrate templating engines with WordPress, because that's probably something that interests you the most.
Yes, because we really have high hopes that many of you who didn't use templating engines, like after 5 minutes after we'll just press end stream, you will just jump in right into Blade or Timber or whatever.
And starting rewriting all the solutions that you have.
Exactly.
Yeah, but seriously, there are a lot of different ways to handle this. We have created some examples. The first one is using the Sage theme starter as a base. It has Laravel Blade integrated, so that's the native way of building the applications in WordPress when using this starter. Our team has started using Sage many years ago, and we like it a lot. But the latest version, at least me, I'm not really so excited about this due to the changes that they make. The latest Sage version is more like the Laravel in WordPress, but I'm not experienced in the latest version, so sorry if I'm making the problems here, but I felt this. I need to step there and check this framework again, but I stopped using it. I love to use the 9th version and the 8 because they are really, really great, but 10 version is too much Laravel way.
Yes, I mean, in my case, I also started with Sage, but I stopped using it the moment they introduced Blade, because I was already Timber, and so I created my own starter that was based on Sage, but using Timber. So it was kind of this weird connection, but still, I always used Bedrock by roots, but it's on a higher level and it's not important right now. But still, Sage is. I mean, if you are experienced with Laravel, the way that Sage and not only Sage but all the roots toolkit went, they just kind of decided to make WordPress a bit more like Laravel, and that's perfect. I can imagine that many developers will love this approach.
We see that there is a lot of stars and the products created, so it is widely used.
So yeah, it really does have sense, and also together with the fact how popular Laravel is and what they're doing, I fully understand their way to go.
Exactly. So the Sage is the first option if someone wants to use the Laravel Blade, but of course there are the different choices. So here we have the Timber in the latest version. So maybe
there is
will
Timber
talk about
2.0. There is Timber 2.0. We waited for this so many years, and I can even tell you that like a moment before the talk, I even got this comment about also Timber is now 2.0. Don't forget that. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, Timber went through a lot of code changes. I mean, on the front side, it didn't change that much. So that's great, because there are some minor there are some minor breaking changes, but it's not something you have to worry about. But in general, Timber improved a lot. It's a bit faster, and Timber is a library, so you just have to compose or install Timber, and that's it.
Exactly.
It's as simple as it goes. And what I recommend is, but it's not also about Timber. I think it's about every templating engine. First, read the documentation, because the flow of those applications is a bit different. Like I said, I was a template engine hater because I did not understood that, and I was fixing some code that a person before me who also didn't understand how to use templating engine did. So I thought that this is always so messed up, and it turns out it's not. It can kind of help you a lot. So really, first going through the documentation, understanding how it looks. But you see, it's so similar to what Przemek showed. Extend,
Yeah.
you use the base template. Here we have this variable. Instead of section, we have block. And then we have the variables. I mean, those master, it's nothing else than echo. That's it.
Yeah, and as you can see here, those looks, in terms of the general idea, they looks almost the same. Just the
Exactly.
Syntax is different, and that's the great point about the template engines, that they look similar in no matter what template engine we use. So the second version has been just released. So all the people that want to try it, just try it and let the authors know what do you think. I think that they will be appreciated for each kind of feedback.
Of course, especially that, it was like released really. We are talking days or week ago, so every bug reported is really valuable.
Yeah, exactly. What we have next? Okay, the next thing is a lumberjack. That's the starter that you have sent to me, and it looks really great. It uses the approach that we have just discussed already. If we can say that, we have the controllers that takes care about creating and preparing the data for the visual layer, and here we have the visual layer. Both things are separated from each other. I must admit that I haven't tried to use this lumberjack. Have you tried this?
Some time ago, and sadly, if I remember, lumberjack isn't developed actively anymore, which is sad, because there were really a lot of interesting approaches inside of lumberjack, and even Jared, who's the template creator, was very happy with it. But
Okay. Yeah, I see that here we have a great thing that I agree with, that the modern WordPress solution should look like this today, and that's why you all should try to use those templating engines. I really like the look of this intro website, and it looks great. And I'm sad that it is not developed already. The next part is a Themois framework. I'm not sure if I pronounce it correctly. It also presents
and it's really advanced. And it could use both Blade and Twig engine, so it was really interesting. It's like I said, it's really advanced. I think it's one of the most advanced frameworks there is, and I'm happy to see that it's still under development. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I haven't used this, but I know this framework, and maybe I will try to use it in the future. But it's great to have such solutions. Okay, so what are the other options? Okay, for example, recently I've created also material about introducing Laravel Blade in WordPress. I've made this directly without using any tools in my solutions. I've just used the Laravel components in my code base, which doesn't seem to be problematic in terms of how I create the WordPress application. But we have a great tweet from Mr. Calvin that shows the problem that that some of you might have while using the Laravel components directly in the WordPress. Those are great points. Of course, will we have a possibility to make a links after finishing this?
Of course we will.
Yeah.
Of course we will. We have to.
Yeah.
We'll have to ping all the people who are kind of involved in our talks.
Yeah,
So maybe
exactly.
another discussion, because I think it's a very important topic on which we should
Yeah,
talk.
you should if the problems that Mr. Calvin points out might be the problems also for you, I insist you to check out the whole s02e06 repository, because it includes a lot of great libraries that should have some problems. I think that especially if you write the solutions and you write the test for WordPress solutions.
Yes,
I'm not
yes,
experienced in these areas. That's why I still be using the Laravel components, because I don't consider it as a problem. But that just because I'm not experienced test writer. So if you have some kinds of problems, just check out those repositories, because as far as I have checked them, they were really great. Especially for example, we have a better WPDB library, which might solve a lot of problems that we have already in the WordPress while using WPDB object. But that's maybe not for this topic, but just check out. We will post the links in the video description.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
you will have everything. Okay. It looks that one of the tweets was missing. But one of my friends from Twitter, Sharaf, mentioned that in some cases, using such things like Blade in WordPress development might be not necessary, especially if we can write the PHP code. And as we already discussed this, that's true. In some cases, they might be not it might be not worth to implement the whole templating engine thing if we build simple solutions. But as you, Maciek, mentioned, I think that we all should at least try. As you mentioned, you were the skeptical when it comes to this approach, and then everything changed.
Oh, I would even say that I was very against it. I wasn't skeptical. I was just
okay. yeah. So we just should try. We shouldn't say, and I even don't want to say that we must use templating engines, because that's not the point. But just check out them. Maybe they will work for you. I hope so. If so, just leave a comment under this video and let us know.
We can discuss it further. Exactly. Yeah, because templating engines are just another tool in our toolbox. You never know when you will be when it can appear useful or not. So it's better to know one thing more rather than not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just simple as that.
Yeah, I must admit actually that using the Laravel Blade was my entry point to trying out the whole Laravel framework. Yeah, and I think that it might be valuable in terms of the further experience.
Exactly. I mean, this is how we learn we learn things. Very often, it's kind of triggered by some kind of random things, because we were just trying out Blade, and it turned out that, hey, let's check what the whole Laravel thing is about. And,
exactly.
And I can imagine that it happens very often with different cases, and yeah. So in short, what we wanted to tell you for this whole hour: try templating engines. You will thank us later.
And let us know if they won't work for you.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's always interesting to learn why it worked for you, or maybe why it didn't. Because yeah, this is the fact that it worked in our case doesn't mean it will work for you, and it's totally normal. We are not at any point kind of trying to shove those templating engines. Yeah, it's just another tool, but based on our experience, we can already tell that it's a very useful very useful tool in our toolbox.
Okay, so I have one question for you, maybe rhetorical for now, but do do you consider site editing as a templating engine for WordPress? Full site editing and the way how the templates are created there?
No, no.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
no, sorry. I mean, I tried, and I try every time the new release is out, but sorry, we are just not compatible. I just,
Yeah.
I
would,
just can't.
yeah, I would say that it has some kind of attributes of templating engines, but
Yeah,
I'm
because
not.
we can change like the parts, so it's kind of like slots. But I mean, for me, it was always easier, even when
Mhm.
people were using page builders and everything. I was always, yeah, let me just add a line of code here and a line of code there.
Yeah,
It will be
exactly.
easier, faster, and everything. So,
You said
wow.
a really nice thing that you are not compatible with site editing, and I feel the same. I think
Yeah,
that
yes,
I will
I
take this.
really think. I
Yeah.
really think that this is the term. I'm not saying that site editing per se it's good or bad, because
Yeah.
I just kind of my way of thinking, my way of
Mhm.
doing things is just not compatible
Yeah.
with full site editing, and I know that I'm not the only one.
Yeah, that's just a different approach that solves another problems, and
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so wow, what I mean, Przemek, you were amazing. I will.
thank you.
Look, I even found out lately that Melon has the application which we are using for streaming has this one cool feature that I will use right now. So get ready.
Oh,
No, it's a
thank
lot.
you.
No,
There's a lot of people here.
yeah, it's a standing applause. Yeah, there's so many people were watching us. So yeah, Przemek, thank you so much on diving into this topic and explaining so much things. I really think we had a great discussion, and I really hope that everyone who watched us learned something from it. We are very open to learn of your opinions, how if you'll try using some templating engine, what were the results, what were the problems, and everything. Like, yeah, it's kind of really fascinating to learn how it will look like soon. So, Przemek, once again, thank you so much for spending your time, and
Thank you
everyone.
for your invitation. It was at first the first impression was that I was really scared of this. As you remember, I was wrote this, but I think that it was really great, and maybe we will see in
It
the
went really
future.
amazing. Of course, I mean, of course, we have to think about how to go further, right?
Exactly.
That's for
Okay.
sure. And thank you everyone for watching us. I like I said, I really hope you learned a lot from this, and yeah, we are seeing in 2 weeks again. So have a great day or night, everyone. I mean, it's dark already here, even if it's days.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
see you,
Maciek.
everyone. Bye.
See you. Bye bye.